Hello everyone, this is Fadi and I want to welcome you back to our video series on idolatry between Islam and Christianity. Today we are going to take a deep dive into what I call the stones of Islam in association with worship and idolatry, obviously. The first stone that I want to highlight for you is what we call the black stone. The black stone. Many of you probably have heard of it by now. You hear about the black stone from Muslims, or whenever the Kaaba, the shrine that is in Mecca, that Muslims face in their daily prayers is mentioned, there is always a mention of the so-called the black stone at one of the corners of that particular cubic building. And the Qur'an, by the way, as a reminder, condemns taking stones as objects of worship and veneration. For instance, the Qur'an in chapter 5, verse 9, he said the following, O ye who believe, intoxicants and gambling, dedications of stones, and divination by arrows are an abomination of Satan's handwork. Eschew such abomination that you may prosper. Reject such abomination that you may prosper. Prosper by who? By God. You will be blessed, not cursed. You will be rewarded, not basically judged. If you do what? If you reject the use of stones, among other things, who are the handiwork of Satan. Yet amazingly, we find that Islam actually emphasizes the worship and veneration of a number of various stones. And today we're going to take a look at what we call the black stone. The Quran basically records to us that Abraham's reaction to his people who were idolaters concerning the worship of stones was telling. Here is what he says. He says, "Do you then worship beside God what possesses no power to benefit you or harm you?" This is found in chapter 21, verse 66. And here's the context of that particular passage. The Quran alleges that Abraham was an idolater, and that I would say Abraham was disturbed by the idolatry of his family and his tribe and his town, that they were idolaters. They would worship various idols in the temple, and they have a chief idol. One day, Abraham got really weary and tired of that, took an axe, went basically into the temple, destroyed all of the idols except for the chief idol, laid the axe right next to him, and the next day when they came to worship, they realized that all of their gods and goddesses who are idol have been destroyed, and then they realized that who else other than Abraham, who is an antagonistic person against our worship? So they called him, and his response was, why don't you ask the chief, basically idol, the chief idol who has the axe next to him, why did he do this, or if he did that, or whom did this? And their response to him was, come on, he doesn't speak. So the answer that he gave them, Abraham gave them, was, do you then worship beside God what possesses no power to benefit you or harm you? His answer was, duh, I told you so, and you just basically admitted that you're worshiping idols, stones, objects that cannot benefit you or do any harm to you at all. So right here, we can see that Abraham was disturbed by the form of idolatry that his own family, his own father, his own town was doing. And yet, we're going to see a connection now between the black stone and the story of Abraham, directly or indirectly. So what is this black stone? The black stone basically is a rock that was set into the eastern corner of the Kaaba, the cubic building. And it's an ancient building that is found at the center of the so-called Holy Mosque or the Grand Mosque in Mecca, that is in Saudi Arabia, of course. It is revered by all Muslims as an Islamic relic, which according to Muslim tradition, by the way, dates back to the times of Adam and Eve. The idea is that when Adam and Eve fell, basically because of sin, and hear me out here, Islam teaches that they were living in heaven up above, and after the fall, they were dropped down and ejected by Allah, and they fell to the ground. And is that this stone fell from heaven to point to Adam and Eve, the location where they will build the foundations of the so-called the Kaaba. That's the claim. That's basically the claim and how it's associated with Adam and Eve. Later, we know that it was Abraham who used that foundation to continue the building of the Kaaba itself. And that's where we begin to see the association between Abraham and stones, whether the stones of the building itself or the black stone in particular. It was venerated, by the way, at the Kaaba also in pre-Islamic pagan times. In other words, the pagan Arabs, before the coming of Islam, even during the time of Muhammad, were worshippers of various stones and idols, including also the veneration of this black stone. So it has nothing to do with Islam. It has to do a lot with idolatry in the first place, according to Islamic traditions. It was set at the Kaaba by Muhammad when they were doing remodel, and that 4 tribes were arguing and fighting who will have the honor to put the black stone at the corner. And Muhammad, the idea that stated, or the tradition states, that he came up with the idea that he used a garment, his garment, put it on the ground, and asked him to put the black stone on it. And then he says each one of the tribes will hold a corner of that garment, lift it up, and therefore all of you will get the honor of doing so. And they all placed it, of course, in the corner that way, and therefore problem solved. That's what the Islamic traditions will say. And this happened, by the way, around the year 605 AD, almost 5 years before Muhammad claimed to have received his first revelation in the year 610 AD. Since then, the black stone, by the way, has been damaged, broken into pieces. It's glued together, by the way, with a waxy material. It also been claimed that it has been snatched, basically, and taken away by a group, a Shia group that took it to Bahrain, modern-day Bahrain, and then for 20 years it stayed there, and later, after negotiating a ransom to give it back to the Abbasides dynasty, it was returned back to where it is today in Mecca. It is housed today at the eastern corner of the Kaaba and surrounded by a silver, basically a silver frame. In fact, the older frame can be found in Turkey at the Museum of Topkapi. You can see the old one in there. Its a physical appearance is that of fragmented dark rock, polished, smooth. Why? Because people touch it all the time, and that's why it's polished smooth. And its Islamic tradition holds that it fell from heaven, and many believe that it could be basically a meteorite that fell from heaven. But we don't know really, but these are speculations, technically speaking. Take a look now at this slide in front of you that has this image, this particular slide in front of you. You can see the black stone, how shiny it is and surrounded by that silver frame. But if you look at the picture to the left above it, you'll see that the black stone has been fragmented and glued together because it used to be one piece, but then after it was stolen, it was damaged, and it was glued back together into multiple pieces. And that's really how it is. And that's what Muslims claim to be worthy of veneration, because the Prophet of Islam himself have showed an act of veneration. And the list can go on and on and on. Islamic traditions, by the way, hold that the black stone fell from Jannah or paradise to show Adam and Eve where to build an altar. And this altar, of course, later became what we call the Kaaba, the first temple on earth. And Muslims also believe that the stone was originally pure, whiter than milk, or the color of milk, but it turned black. Why? Because of the sin of people who are touching it. And I want to stop right here, and we are going to pick it up from here next time, because that is a huge admission concerning the sinful nature of people and the original sin. Until next time, have a blessed day. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment. And ring the bell so you will be notified when we release new content. Our mission is to reach Muslims with the gospel of Jesus Christ and help Christians engage with their Muslim neighbors. If you want to join us in this life-changing work, please support us on patreon.com/CIRA International, or just click on the link below.